Hello and welcome. My name is Angie Holden and I'm the blogger behind The Country Chic Cottage. Today we're going to etch on slate. So the same etching cream that you might have used for glass before with your Cricut machine can also be used on slate. And I'm going to be making some slate coasters with this product and this technique. However, any slate will work for this. So this is just regular plain slate coasters. You could do like a slate cheese tray. It would be another example of something you could make with this. And I just purchased these slate coasters off Amazon. Anything else that you can find that is slate would work. And then you just need your etching cream. And I am using the Armor Etch. That's my personal favorite. However, any glass etching cream would actually work. So first let's take a look at the supplies we're going to use for this project. The supplies you'll need are as follows. So I'm going to use Smart Stencil. I like using the flexible stencil film from Cricut, either the Smart version or the version that goes on the mat. You could use any permanent vinyl or even removable vinyl probably for this. Transfer tape, painter's tape, protective gloves, weeding tool. I like to use a disposable paintbrush, scraper, your slate. I'm going to use slate coasters. Your Armor Etch, which is a glass etching cream, and then some kind of like hair dryer, or I'm going to use like this low temp heat gun that I keep in my craft room. So first I'm going to cut the Smart Stencil on my Cricut machine. Now any Cricut machine will work with this because you're just using vinyl as your stencil for the etching. So let's take a look at the design that I've chosen. So I use the Cricut monogram maker to make a design for my coaster. I do have another video on the monogram maker, so I'm not going to go through that. I will leave a link in the description below to that video. If you're confused about how to make the design or cut the design, that's where you would look. Then I cut it out of my stencil film. Now I cut 6 because I have 6 coasters. You could move these further apart if you're not worried about wasting material. I find that people ask me a lot about saving material, so I cut them fairly close together, and I'm going to show you how I would do it with them cut together. You can move them further apart before you cut. And then I went ahead and weeded my design, and as you can see, I weeded everything that I want etched into the coaster. So it is a reverse weeding. You don't take away the outside, you don't take away the centers of the letters, you leave those in. So we're just going to start with our first coaster, and I'm just going to cut one of these designs away from the rest. Then we're going to use transfer tape to put the design on the coaster itself. So first of all, I'm going to apply the transfer tape to my stencil film first. I'm going to burnish from the front as well as the back. And then you do want to make sure this surface is clean. So like just a lint-free cloth or something like that, just to dust off any bits and pieces. Then we're going to peel back the backing paper from this vinyl. So you want to leave the vinyl on the transfer tape. Then you just want to apply this vinyl to the coaster, and you do want to get it in the center approximately. And then I'm going to use my scraper once again, burnish it down, and then we'll just want to peel back this transfer tape. We want to leave the vinyl on the slate. And once you have the vinyl on the slate, we're just going to burnish it once more. And then we want to fire up either your hair dryer or a low temp heat gun. This part's going to be loud, but I'm just going to use this to hit the vinyl and heat it just a little bit, just to get it kind of flexible, and burnish it again with my scraper. This really is critical because the slate surface is not smooth, and you want to get it as burnished down as possible, and heating it up will help the vinyl to form to all those nooks and crannies. Then I'm just going to use a smaller scraper and go around all of my edges as well as I can. I might need to heat it with the heat gun again. You can see the vinyl kind of change colors as you burnish it down. So just keep an eye on that and burnish as much as you can. This will get the cleanest lines possible. So if you had moved your stencil and the stencil material itself covered all of your coaster, you could just go from here. However, because mine does not, and I was trying to save the vinyl, I will need to go around with some painter's tape, and I like to burnish that down as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and cover up all the areas, and I did spend several minutes burnishing this area. and getting it down on the slate really, really well. So this is what I'm gonna go with for my etching. So I feel like I have everything covered really well, and I am gonna just kind of fold this tape under as well as fold the stencil under so it's not as sticky. And now this is ready for the etching cream. So let's take a look at how to apply that. You will want to wear protective gloves. I use a disposable brush so I can throw it away later. And we're just going to pick up the Armor Etch with the brush and dab it onto the stencil in all the exposed areas. Now I try not to get it on the painter's tape at all. However, it's there just in case I mess up. So we're going to let this sit, dab it once, let it sit for 5 minutes. And then we're going to come through, dab it once more, let it sit for 5 more minutes. And then we'll peel the stencil off and take a look at the results. Once my 5 minutes is up, I don't apply any more of the Armor Etch. I'm just kind of moving it around. This just ensures that it gets everywhere on the stencil. So I just want to kind of dab and move it around, just disturbing the Armor Etch on the entire surface. Time for 5 more minutes. So now my second 5-minute timer went off, and if you did not know, you can reuse Armor Etch. So you can actually scrape off as much of this as possible and just put it right back in your container, which is why I kind of love etching projects, because they're not wasteful at all. And then once you've done that, you want to take it to the sink. I'm just going to use a wipe just for the video, but you just want to get as much of that off as possible. And then we're just going to remove our stencil. Just peel back all the painter's tape and the entire stencil. And I'm just going to kind of dry this with my hairdryer so you can see the results. And now after that surface is dry, you can really see how gorgeous the etching is. Here's that etching up close so you can just see the detail that I was able to get with this method. So now all that's left to do is for you to try this project for yourself. I really love how this turned out. Now you did see at the end there, I had to like dry it to get it to appear on camera. If it's wet at this point after I've dried it, you can still see the etching. So don't think because you put your drink on it that you're not going to be able to see the etching. You can still see it now. It was because just the part that was exposed, the stencil portion, was wet. And so it was as dark as the dry slate around it. And you couldn't see it very well on camera. I dried it and you can see it. And now when you would get it wet, like the entire coaster surface would be wet when your drink is on it or whatever. So you would still be able to see the etching. So don't worry about that. I just wanted to note that just in case you were worried about why you couldn't see it when you took the actual stencil off. So if everything's wet when you're taking the stencil off, you might think it didn't work, but just allow it to dry, or use a hairdryer, a low temp heat gun, whatever, to dry it, and you will be able to see the etching. So now if you have any questions about etching slate, you can drop it in the comment section, ask away. If you like this video, if it helped you, give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. We have videos just like this one every single week, and trust me, you don't want to miss any of those. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.